When humanity finally stepped beyond its solar cradle, dreams of wonder filled the hearts of billions. Earth scientists had broken the barriers of faster-than-light travel, and the first contact missions were sent with hope, curiosity, and the belief that humanity could find its place among the stars. But what met them was not welcome. It was control. The Galactic Council, a vast and ancient collection of alien civilizations, had watched Earth's progress from afar. They called themselves protectors of order, guardians of peace, but their peace was one of obedience, and their order left no room for the unpredictable spark of a rising species. Within weeks of contact, Earth's first fleet was intercepted and surrounded near the edge of the Orion Arm. The Council's message was firm and final. Humanity was to sign the Treaty of Submission, surrendering its right to build weapons in space, to colonize new worlds, or to develop military technologies beyond its planet. Earth had no choice. Their ships were outmatched, their systems compromised within moments, and their diplomatic envoys barely returned unharmed. Before the people of Earth could even grasp what had happened, the Council had deployed a ring of surveillance satellites around the Sol system, each one capable of monitoring transmissions, energy signatures, and any hint of known compliance. Earth, at least on the surface, bowed its head. The news spread across the planet. An alien council had declared Earth too primitive to be trusted, and humans would now be watched like children who had reached too far into the grown-up world. Most of the population accepted it, some protested, a few wept. But the leaders, the real ones, those who had seen the hidden layers of the encounter, began to plan. Earth was not as helpless as it seemed, though its fleet had been defeated, and its satellites watched. There were minds on Earth who understood how to hide. Quietly, the Global Defense Coalition was disbanded on paper but reborn in secret under the codename Project Echo. Resources were funneled into hidden facilities buried beneath the oceans, under the ice caps, and on the dark side of the moon. Signals were masked, research disguised as civilian projects, and technologies once thought impossible were suddenly pursued with desperate determination. Human engineers, scientists, and strategists worked in silence, away from the public eye, building something not meant for defense, but for a future where Earth would no longer be underestimated. Meanwhile, the Council, arrogant in its age, grew complacent. It believed the satellites were enough. It believed humans were disheartened. It did not see the changes in Earth's asteroid belt, the energy pulses hidden within Mars' magnetic field, or the way Earth's own moon had grown more silent. Years passed, and humanity played its role perfectly. It sent no ships. It launched only civilian satellites. It sent cultural updates to the Council's archives, showing a peaceful and obedient species focused on art, medicine, and climate repair. But underground, the heart of Earth beat louder. Young cadets were trained not in uniforms, but in secret bunkers. AI systems were developed that could mimic the patterns of natural space noise, masking the energy outputs of massive engines. Drones were built, then sent to the edges of the solar system disguised as space debris to test long-range communication. And then, on a night that no citizen noticed, a transmission was sent from a quiet facility in Antarctica. It slipped past the satellites undetected, riding on a narrow-band quantum burst that had been years in the making. It left Earth's orbit silently, traveling not to a known colony or council outpost, but to somewhere else, far beyond mapped space. No one on the surface knew it had been sent, not even the global communication networks. But in one small control room, a team of engineers watched a tiny green light blink once, then fade. A signal acknowledged, a reply awaited. The man in charge, an older strategist named Commander Valen, stood quietly with his hands clasped behind his back. "It begins," he said softly, to no one in particular. Above him, a monitor showed a hologram of a structure the size of a small moon, still incomplete, hidden in the shadow of Saturn's rings. Project Echo was no longer theory. It was moving. While the Council looked elsewhere, and the galaxy carried on unaware, humanity had made a choice. Never again to be underestimated. Never again to kneel. They would not strike first. They did not want war. But if the stars were ruled by strength, then Earth would answer in kind, not with ships, not with armies, but with something so vast, so patient, and so silent that when it finally moved, the galaxy would remember the day it was born. For 100 years after the Treaty of Submission, the galaxy appeared calm. But beneath that calm lay a growing mystery that unsettled even the oldest and most experienced members of the Galactic Council. Across the vast reaches of space, in regions that were thought to be empty or unimportant, strange energy readings began to flicker on sensor screens like ghostly signals from nowhere. Ships sent by various alien species to investigate never returned, leaving only silence where there should have been radio chatter or distress calls. The Council's intelligence officers suspected pirates or Outlaw A is working in the shadows, perhaps building secret bases or hiding weapons, but their guesses were far from the truth. In these so-called voids, vast and uncharted sectors, between the familiar star systems, humanity had constructed hidden shipyards massive, moon-sized fortresses cloaked in shadows and silence, growing stronger while the galaxy's attention was focused elsewhere. The Xyrothea, species known for their sharp senses and relentless exploration, were among the first to stumble upon one of these colossal structures. Their exploratory vessel had tracked a strange signature in the Kethri expanse, a dark stretch of space rarely visited due to its dangerous gravitational anomalies. The crew hoped for ancient ruins or lost technology, but what they found was far more alive, a silent monolith that dwarfed their ship in size and power. They sent a single brief transmission before disappearing, leaving the Council scrambling to understand what had happened. Meanwhile, on Earth, the existence of these hidden strongholds was a closely guarded secret, known only to a select few, those raised and trained as architects. From childhood, these individuals were taught the art of constructing ships that defied conventional design, blending advanced AI with human ingenuity and biological integration. They worked in isolated facilities scattered across Earth's darkest regions, forging machines that were more than just weapons. They were legacies of survival and hope. To the world outside, life seemed peaceful and steady. Nations collaborated on science and culture, rebuilding what had been damaged by decades of conflict and environmental struggle. But deep in the shadows, humanity was shaping its future with a patience that outmatched even the oldest species in the galaxy. The anomalies grew more frequent, and the Council could no longer ignore them. Ships sent to investigate vanished without trace, leaving behind questions and unease. Council leaders debated fiercely. Some wanted to send a fleet to destroy whatever was lurking, while others feared provoking a hidden enemy. Rumors spread in hushed tones among officers and diplomats. What if humanity was not as weak as they seemed? What if those ghosts in the void were something far greater than anyone expected? Yet even with these fears, the Council's satellites continued to scan the Sol system without finding cause for alarm. On Earth, a young architect named Lena, born into the secret program, watched holograms of the growing warships she helped design. She understood the burden they carried, not just the weight of steel and circuits, but the hope of a species that had once been crushed underfoot. Lena's work was a mix of art and science, balancing the needs of stealth, power, and survival. Each ship was a fortress and a sanctuary, built to protect humanity and remind the galaxy that Earth was no longer a place to be dismissed. As the years passed, the gap between the visible world and the hidden one widened. Civilizations far from Earth speculated about the causes of the void anomalies. Some believed it was the work of outlawed tech cults or ancient relics reactivating. Others whispered of a new species rising in the shadows, one that might challenge the Council's rule. The truth, however, was far more complex and human. The secret shipyards moved slowly but steadily, powered by technology no one else had, weaving themselves into the fabric of the void. Wormhole technology was used not just for travel, but to erase footprints, erasing traces of energy and matter that could give away their presence. When survey ships disappeared, it was because their sensors were confused, led astray by carefully crafted illusions. Each vanished crew added to the legend of the ghosts in the void, stirring both fear and curiosity throughout the galaxy. Yet the greatest danger was not the ships themselves, but the growing tension they created. The Galactic Council, while trying to maintain peace, found itself on edge, unsure whether to respond with force or diplomacy. Meanwhile, humanity held its breath, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself or to defend itself if necessary. The architects knew their work was only beginning. The secret warfleet was a promise made in silence, that humanity would endure, that it would rise again, not with brute force, but with unwavering resolve and cunning. As the void grew darker and the anomalies more mysterious, the galaxy's oldest, powers could not ignore the signs forever. Something was coming from the shadows, something built in secret, something vast and unstoppable. And when it finally emerged, the universe would see that humanity had never been as weak as anyone had believed. For decades, the frontier worlds at the edge of known space had been quiet, almost forgotten by the great powers of the galaxy. But, too many, they were fragile outposts, waiting for a spark to ignite conflict. One such world, Helio 7, lay under the careful protection of Earth's unseen influence. To the outside universe, Earth appeared restrained, still bound by the Treaty of Submission, but in truth, its hidden guardians watched closely. The rogue warlord named Varak, commanding a fleet known for brutality and greed, saw Helio 7 as an easy prize and opportunity to seize territory without fear of retaliation from a supposedly disarmed Earth. His ships poured into the system, overwhelming the weak planetary defenses with relentless attacks, confident that no help would come. As the warlord's fleet bombarded the surface, cities fell and resistance weakened. The people of Helio 7 braced for occupation, expecting that this was the final chapter in Earth's quiet submission. But in the cold depths of space, beyond all eyes, something stirred. The stars themselves seemed to shift as a massive shadow peeled away from the dark side of Saturn, revealing a sight the galaxy had never imagined: a planet-sized warship emerging from hiding for the very first time. Named Aegis 1, it was no ordinary vessel, but a hollowed-out dwarf planet, its core replaced by a network of advanced AI systems, layered with countless weapons arrays that glowed faintly beneath its armored surface, and bioreactors that pulsed, like a beating heart within its massive frame. From the outside, Aegis 1 appeared as a celestial giant, silent and imposing, radiating power that no known ship could match. Without hesitation, it unleashed a devastating barrage of energy beams, missiles and drones that swept through Varak's fleet like a storm, dismantling battleships and cruisers within seconds. The sky above Helio 7 lit up with the destruction, visible even from neighboring star systems. A dazzling display of raw power that left no doubt humanity was no longer defenseless. The warlord's forces were shattered, his command vessels vaporized or crippled, and those who survived fled in terror. The Galactic Council, monitoring from their distant chambers, was stunned into silence. Their centuries of dominance were suddenly challenged by a species they had dismissed, a species that had been building in secret, quietly preparing for this moment. In response, Earth sent a single message, simple yet clear, broadcast to every corner of known space: we never stopped building. This declaration echoed through communication networks, a reminder and a warning that humanity was no longer the powerless world the Council had assumed. Panic and disbelief rippled through the Council's ranks, triggering an emergency session where leaders debated their next move. Some argued for immediate retaliation, demanding that Earth be crushed before it could grow stronger. Others counseled caution, fearing that war with humanity might ignite a conflict no one could control. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Valen and the architects watched the unfolding events with a mix of relief and resolve. The awakening of Aegis 1 was only the beginning. More such ships lay hidden, ready to defend humanity and ensure its place in the galaxy. The balance of power had shifted overnight, and the galaxy's oldest empires would need to rethink their assumptions. As the Council deliberated, the stars above Helio 7 shimmered with the promise of a new era, one where humanity, once dismissed and confined, would rise as a force to be reckoned with, a guardian not just of Earth, but of the future itself. After the stunning revelation of Aegis 1, humanity did not stop. For years, whispers of other colossal warships began to ripple through the galaxy. But these remained hidden, cloaked in advanced stealth technologies that baffled even the most skilled council spies. Then, during a tense diplomatic meeting held in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council's capital world, Earth's envoy, Ambassador Alara Voss, presented undeniable proof of 3 additional planet-sized warships concealed in different sectors, all positioned within striking distance of critical council worlds. Using precise star maps, energy signature data, and surveillance footage, Ilara's calm and steady voice cut through the room like a cold wind, silencing debate and skepticism. But the evidence was irrefutable, and the council's unity fractured almost immediately. One faction, hardened by years of dominance and fearing loss of power, pushed for immediate war, demanding the destruction of Earth's hidden fleet before it could grow further. Another group, more cautious and pragmatic, argued for negotiation, proposing alliances with humanity to avoid catastrophic conflict and to embrace the reforms Earth demanded. These reforms were revolutionary, the end of species-based class systems that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Universal autonomy for millennia, all worlds regardless of origin, and the recognition of humanity as an equal partner, no longer to be confined or controlled. The room was divided, tension thick enough to choke the very air, and debates raged into long cycles of sleepless hours. Meanwhile, back in the void, the warships of Earth remained vigilant. Aegis II, stationed near the border of the Zyruthi. Dominion faced a covert attack when an elite sabotage team managed to penetrate its outer defenses using stealth drones and experimental EMP devices. Yet the ship's next-generation AI, designed to adapt and learn from every threat, swiftly neutralized the saboteurs, sealing breaches and launching countermeasures that left no trace of the attackers. This failure only deepened the Council's anxiety and fed rumors that Earth's technological edge was far beyond their estimates. In response, the Council assembled a formidable fleet to confront the growing threat, sending warships and carriers into the regions where Earth's hidden warships were believed to lurk. Tensions mounted as fleets clashed in shadowed space, with neither side willing to strike the first blow. Then came the moment that changed everything. Aegis III appeared. Suddenly, above the Council's homeworld, a silent guardian looming in the sky like a specter of judgment. It did not fire. It did not threaten overtly. But its presence alone shattered morale and exposed the fragility of the Council's control. The citizens and leaders alike were gripped by fear and awe, realizing that the warships were not just tools of war, they were symbols of a new era, reminders that the old order could no longer hold. Humanity's strategy was clear: strength without aggression, power balanced with restraint. The envoy, Alara Voss, concluded her presentation with a declaration that echoed across all sectors. The galaxy must change or it will break behind. This call for reform was a promise. Humanity sought peace, but it would defend its place with every ounce of its strength. As political factions within the Council struggled to find a way forward, the balance of power had already shifted irrevocably. The warships remained cloaked, watching and waiting. A silent warning that the era of dismissal was over and the age of true equality had dawned. After months of tense debate and fragile negotiations, the Galactic Council, worn down by internal division and the undeniable presence of humanity's vast and hidden fleet, finally agreed to terms that no one had imagined possible just a short time before. The age of empire and dominance was coming to an end, replaced by a new era decentralized alliance, where every species, great and small, would have the right to govern itself without fear of oppression. Humanity, once dismissed as a minor and primitive race, had risen not only as a guardian of its own world, but as a symbol of balance and restraint for the entire galaxy. The mighty Aegis-class warships, which had once been feared as weapons of destruction, now stood as icons of peace maintained through strength, a quiet warning that true power was in control, not conquest. Was Earth's soft-spoken but fiercely intelligent ambassador, Dr. Alara Voss, in a moment that would be remembered for centuries to come. She delivered a speech that silenced the assembled representatives, her calm voice carrying the weight of humanity's struggle and hope. Peace is not built on weakness, she said. Her eyes steady as they scanned the crowd. It is safeguarded by strength that chooses not to strike. Those words echoed in the grand chamber long after she finished, resonating in the minds of leaders who understood that this new balance would require vigilance, patience, and respect for the freedom of all. As the agreement was signed, the Aegis fleet retreated once again into the shadows of deep space, cloaked and watchful guardians, watching over a fragile peace while waiting silently should that peace ever be threatened. Earth returned to its place among the stars, not as a defeated world, but as a respected partner in the galactic community. Secret power, a reminder that true peace was forged not through fear, but through strength and honor. Years later on, a distant colony far from the heart of the old empires, a young alien child stood in a quiet field under a sky sprinkled with stars. Pointing upward with innocent curiosity, the child asked their guardian, "Is that a star or one of theirs?" The guardian smiled softly, knowing the answer held the story of a once-hidden power that had changed the course of history. As the child's eyes stayed fixed on the shimmering light, the scene faded to black, leaving only the haunting hum of a warship engine echoing through the void, a quiet promise that while peace reigned, the Watchers were always there, vigilant and ready, guardians of a new age where strength chose wisdom over war.